The one account of the first vision that every Latter-day Saint knows, and that most scholars would be familiar with, is the 1838 account.
It's the fullest and best developed of all of Joseph's accounts. Clearly, he designed this one to be his history, the history that he was going to tell and have published to the world. He published this one, for example, in his lifetime, whereas he didn't publish the earlier ones.
Joseph Smith was aware from the day the church was organized that he had a responsibility to help provide a history of the unfolding of this work. He's tried several times to get various history initiatives underway, but by 1838, there is no ongoing history project, and the history of the church is still basically in Joseph Smith's life and heart and that of his associates. So when he moves at a time of crisis from Ohio to Missouri, one of the very first things he does as soon as he's settled in is get together with a clerk, George Robinson and Sidney Rigdon and Joseph Smith set about producing a history. Within a few weeks, there are difficulties in Missouri. Within a few months, Joseph Smith is imprisoned, the saints are driven out, and all of this, of course, grinds to a stop, and there's no way it can be a priority until they get reestablished in Commerce, which becomes Nauvoo in 1839. One of the first things he does once he's out of prison, once they're reestablished in a home, beginning to settle, he starts working with his clerk, James Mulholland, to produce the history.
One of the things we notice is that Joseph Smith and his helpers, the people he dictated it to and those he worked on it with, are really determined to make this the full story.
But this time, instead of writing a short account as he did in 1832, he envisioned this as being part of a much larger project, a foundation of his personal experiences that became the corporate story of the Latter-day Saints, a history of a people of which he was a leader. And so from the beginning, he intended this to be an account to be published. He intended it to be an account that would be read and meaningful to many people, Latter-day Saints and others. He frames it as an opportunity to tell his own story after so many false reports, a story he wants in print and he wants people to know. And therefore, he's very careful to give the most detailed, most complete account he can give.
He emphasizes that there's competing churches in his neighborhood. This is the problem as well as the blessing of pluralism, or multitude of churches in Joseph Smith's time and place. And as he shops around among them, he's the more confused. And so the passage about his crisis is, in all of the accounts, very rich and emotional, and it's especially so in the 1838 account. I had great anxiety. I reflected on it again and again, knowing that if anyone needed wisdom from God, I did. How to act, I did not know, and unless I could get more wisdom from God than I then had, I would never know. The crisis of not knowing is just so pronounced. It's great storytelling, among other things, and it's Joseph Smith really tapping into the feelings of what it was like to be his teenage self and revealing that to us.
The 1838, then, was from the beginning conceived of as a more elaborate or more detailed account, which would be for publication and for sharing beyond any inner circle.
It's clearly his fullest effort to keep a history as he'd been commanded to do.